sneaking in right in time. Welcome everybody to our September 2nd luncheon of the Taxpayers Association of Indian County. We're proud to host this important forum for the Vero Beach City Council candidates who are with us today. There are a total of 8 candidates running for 3 seats. Unfortunately, one candidate couldn't participate today. John Carroll had a prior engagement out of state, so he won't be able to make it. He had that planned before we scheduled this forum. This will follow our usual structure. Candidates will have 2 minutes to make their opening statements and 2 minutes to answer each of my questions. We'll then finish up with 3-minute closing statements, which will give candidates the opportunity to discuss at length any issues that they're most passionate about. We will raise the yellow folder to signal your 30-second warning. It's right there. Joanne's got it. And when she holds up the red folder, you've reached your time limit, at which point I will rudely interrupt you if you keep speaking. Before Mayor Tyson leads us in the invocation, I'd like us all to sing a happy birthday to him because he turns 90 on Monday. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Terrence. Happy birthday to you. He'll be the second oldest mayor in the United States of America. Pretty cool. So, Mayor, would you please lead us in the invocation?
Let's pray. Divine and gracious God, we come to you again, thanking you for the privilege of living in a country where we're free to come together and discuss the business of our association. Lord, we ask that you would be with us during the course of this meeting, that everything we say and do here will be acceptable to your sight. Today we come to you with heavy hearts. We are so concerned about the future of our country. Lord, we ask that you would be with our president, his advisors, with Congress, Lord. Touch the hearts of those people and get them working together instead of all of the conflict that we see every day. It seems to get worse daily. Lord, be with our first responders, our policemen, who need some guidance on carrying out their duties. Be with them, give them the wisdom to make the right decisions when they're on duty. We find that in some of the large cities, our policemen are being killed, ambushed, for no other reason than the fact that they're wearing a policeman's uniform. Lord, we pray for our doctors and our nurses that are still fighting the pandemic. Be with them, keep them safe and well so that they can do their job. Now as we break bread together, we ask you to bless this food, the nourishment of our bodies, bless the hands that prepared it. We ask these things in your precious and holy name. Amen. Amen.
Thank you, Mayor Tyson, and please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And we might have a few folks coming in a little late. Have you all already prepaid in advance?
Yeah, I'm
okay,
right here.
Bonnie will get you taken care of. Thanks. And before our Vero Beach City Council candidates introduce themselves, let's take a moment to introduce the elected officials and candidates that are with us today. John Carroll, Vero Beach City Council members with us. Thank you, John. Ray Neville, Vero Beach City Council members with us. Honey Manous, Vero Beach City Council member and candidate for re-election. Bob McCabe, Vero Beach City Council member and candidate for re-election. Of course, Mayor Tyson, happy birthday again, a little early, but thank you for being here with us. Indian River County Sheriff Eric Flowers is with us today. Matt Erpenbeck with mosquito control is with us. Judge White and candidate for re-election is with us today. Oh, sorry. My bad, yes. Judge White, thank you. Congratulations. Indian River Tax Collector Carol Jean Jordan is with us. I believe we have Anna Kirkland, candidate for mosquito control. Candidate for Indian River County Hospital District, Paul Westcott. And candidate for the House of Florida's 8th Congressional District, Joanne Terry. I probably missed somebody. Maybe. Anybody? Okay. All right. That's it. So I will now turn it over, and the Vero Beach City Council candidates will have the opportunity to introduce themselves with their 2-minute opening statements. We'll go in the following order that they filed with the city. So Linda will be first, followed by Bob, Ken, Honey, Brooke, Taylor, and Tracy. We'll go ahead and turn the time over to you, Linda. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Linda Moore, and I've lived in Vero Beach since 2006. I moved here to take care of my mother and just fell in love with this town. I will never leave. This is my home. We opened Kilter Mermaid downtown when downtown was full of empty storefronts because I saw the potential that downtown had, and I wanted to be a part of it. And I think we were an integral part of the resurgence of downtown. And I joined the Economic Development Zone Committee to do my best to make further improvements, and then eventually joined the steering committee because I'm passionate about the Three Corners property. And thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Bob McCabe, and thank you, Jordan, for setting all this up, and thank you for the Taxpayers Association for sponsoring these candidate forums. I think they're very, very helpful. One thing I need to do before we get started, and that is I gotta let everyone know that under Florida's sunshine, very strict sunshine laws, the fact that my fellow council members, Honey Manous is at the same table with me, and we have other council members here that were introduced, John Carroll and Van Neville. And under the sunshine laws, we can't talk about things that are gonna come up on city council and share our views here. This is not an officially publicly announced with at least a week's notice or minutes taken, which would follow it under the sunshine laws. So I just wanted to get that out of the way because I feel a little bit, you know, like we've got a millage rate proposal and a budget that are coming up on Tuesday. And if we were to get any questions related to those, we really can't get into that here. With that said, I can only say that the last 2 years on City Council have been very, very interesting for me. You haven't lived yet until you get an envelope in the mail from the U.S. District Court in Fort Pierce and notice that you are named as a defendant in an antitrust lawsuit. I thought I had left all of that behind at General Motors, but I guess not. So, but seriously, I think we've got a number of great things that we started over the last couple of years in City Council, like some of the projects to help the Indian River Lagoon. We've got a stormwater utility that we've created and so forth. And we've got a customs activity coming into town, if you would. And after 7 years, we actually have something that we can vote on, that we all can vote on with regard to the Three Corners property. So I'm running for re-election to maintain that momentum. I didn't get a red flag.
Hello everyone, my name is Ken Day, and thank you to the Taxpayers Association for hosting this debate. And another big thank you is for the prayer that the mayor of Fellsmere said before we began. And the words that he said, we really needed to hear that with the things that are going on at the federal level and even the state level. I know a lot of people in this room, there's a lot of you folks that don't know me, so I want to just give you a little background of who I am. I've been married to a very supportive wife for 45 years. We have 2 children who have their masters in music and both are performers and educators in Florida. We have a granddaughter who is a member of the Sarasota Youth Orchestra. I own and operate a local business here with my wife. I was in the 82nd Airborne and was a chapel activities specialist for the United States Army. I have participated in many neighborhood projects throughout the city. Since 1986, I've attended numerous City of Vero Beach Council meetings and budget workshops. Sat on 2 charter review commissions. I was vice chairman in 2021. I was elected to City Council and was appointed to City Council. I was chairman of the High Speed Rail Commission. I was a member of the Veterans Memorial Island Sanctuary Committee, a past member of the City of Vero Beach Planning and Zoning Commission. I was on the board of the Culture Council of Indian River County, past member of the leadership team that framed the Arts Village. I am the current vice president of the Friends of the Arts Village. I am the current member of the Vero Beach City Code Enforcement Board. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you all very much for this forum today. Your thoughts and activities on behalf of the taxpayers here in Indian River County has always been recognized and important. Running for re-election is not so much a decision, it is a commitment to my city. It's really the best way of framing that. We moved here we bought our house here in 1988, moved down shortly afterwards in 89. And from that point on, I started asking questions about why things were happening, et cetera. And so I started on a learning curve. I was president of my homeowners association in Vero Isles for 9.5 years. Served on the Planning and Zoning Board I was both chair and vice chair and on Planning and Zoning. And this was all huge, you know, as learning. So when I was elected to City Council, I was not on a learning curve. It was something that I could just go right into and serve my city. I see this as clearly just nothing more than public service. It's very important in my life. And I thank Council Member McCabe here for mentioning sunshine. It puts us at a bit of a disadvantage because of how sunshine rules our ability to communicate. These laws are very stringent, and I do follow them very much. Look forward to participating. Thank you all very much.
Hi, I'm Brooke. Okay, we're working. I'm Brooke Steinham. I grew up in Vero Beach and moved away my sophomore year in high school. I moved my family and 4 of our 5 kids back to Vero 4 years ago. I actually brought my husband here. He's an amazing artist, and he absolutely fell in love with the arts culture here. I have been serving on the Recreation Commission for the past 3 years. Obviously, as a mother, I take that very seriously. I think it's important for our mental health and just for our kids to have a space, you know, places to go and things to do. It's been really fun. In 2022, I was elected the chairperson, and that's been really interesting. And again, I did come in, like Honey, I came into this with absolutely no idea what I was doing, so it was much of a learning curve for me, but it's been such a fun experience. I've learned so much, and I'm just really excited to hopefully have an opportunity to serve my community further. Thank you all for coming, and I look forward to this afternoon's events.
Jordan, thank you for having us. Very happy to be here. I'm also grateful to have my wife here as well, Taylor. Just so everybody knows in this room, so you're not confused, you are voting for this Taylor Dingle on November 8th and not that Taylor Dingle. Now, all joking aside, I couldn't be doing this if it wasn't for her. She knows that. She doesn't always hear it. So hopefully sharing that in front of all of you will give me some good husband points. But to the business, I'm running because I realize my generation is going to live with the consequences of the decisions being made today. If you look at all the issues, the relocation of our wastewater treatment plant, the development of 3 Corners, preserving our Indian River Lagoon, they all concern Vero's future, and that's my future, and I'm prepared to be the solution for some of these challenges facing Vero's tomorrow. I'm asking for your consideration and support to provide a fresh new perspective on Vero Beach City Council and protect our quality of life for young adults and those spending their golden years in the city I'm proud to call home. So thank you.
So I also recognize a lot of people in this room. So my name is Tracy Zudans, and I want to say thank you everybody for coming, and to also thank the Taxpayers Association for putting on a forum, because there's nothing more important in local government and in politics than starting small at the local level. And that's what Vero Beach is, a small town, and this is where it all starts. So my goal today is to convey to you my true desire to act in the best interest of the city. Desire is and what your needs are if I get elected. My gut instinct, one of my greatest accomplishments was being the committee chair for the revitalization of the Gifford Health Center in Gifford. And in doing that, I was able to engage with local community leaders. I was able to meet those needs and gain a unanimous approval with the other fellow trustees after coming up with a plan, after meeting with all the citizens in Gifford to figure out what that need was. The priorities for Vero Beach are 1, 2, 3, if elected, is to complete the Three Corners project. We need 1, a continue and enhance community engagement process that was started by prior city council members. 2, we need to find an economically feasible and successful development partner for this project. And 3, execute the complex logistical plan and do all of this, including financing the sewer and water relocation in a fiscally conservative way and not raise taxes or utility rates. Anyone who thinks this is a simple task is naive. I understand it is daunting, but now it is. But I also know that it's a feasible way of doing things because prior city councils did this with the sale of electric, with no tax increase and a 30% reduction in tax rates. Thank you all, and I'm looking forward to today's questions.
Thank you all for your opening statements. I'm going to make just a quick statement about our efforts to do everything in the sunshine here at the Taxpayers Association. You do not need to be a member of our association to attend our forums, nor do you have to pay for a lunch. We will have this broadcast right now. We have the media and myself are recording this and broadcasting out. So, but of course that is a candidate decision as far as how much detail you go into regarding sunshine. But our efforts are certainly to be very much in the sunshine, publicly noticed meetings and recordings thereof of all questions and answers. So I'll get into our first question, and it'll be answered in the following order with Bob, Ken, Honey, Brooke, Taylor, Tracy, and Linda. Question is, this is the last fiscal year that the city will have the benefit of the glide path budget, which simply put used funds from the sale of the electric plant to bolster the city's operating budget for several years after the sale of the electric plant. Given the future discontinuance of funds, do you have any specific ideas or recommendations for ways the city can replace that money with new funding sources or reduce expenditures to avoid increasing the millage rate?
Well, that's certainly a very difficult issue. The city council and the city did very well manage the glide path, if you would. We moved monies around from some years to other years and so forth, and we're able very successfully to do that while maintaining the tax rate at 2.5 mils. And there are a number of different items that are going to come forward and proposals to do that. Those are going to be extensive discussions included in the budget reviews, and as I mentioned earlier, we have a budget that we've had workshops all summer long on, actually, and we do have a proposed budget that we will have to vote on Tuesday. We have a millage rate proposal also that we're going to have to vote on Tuesday. So it's really not appropriate for me to be talking in any kind of detail on that subject. Again, my apologies.
Okay, on running the city. As I stated before, I don't want to go into how many years, sat watching the city council debate a lot of issues, and then when the budget time comes up, that's a hard one to them. They do have a balanced budget when it comes in. We've been on the glide path. There's a lot of monies that we don't have. When you do the balanced budget in the city, it comes in balanced. There's a lot of things that are not getting done. Through the years, there have been a lot of maintenance issues that have been put off for various reasons, which I don't have time to go into. One of the things that are very important to the ones of us that live in this city, and even our county friends, are our parks system. We have a good amount of parks here that people use, and the maintenance on the parks has fell behind. Sitting there watching these meetings, I own a business, okay? I like to really squeeze the dollars when it's time to pay for something. The city, in my humble opinion, really spends a lot of time and a lot of money hiring different consultant firms to study different issues. The study comes in, they take a look at the study, let's do another study to look at that study. So I'm saying to myself, why don't you just take that money, you have a good staff, you have your department heads, you pay them a halfway decent dollar to help move your city where it has to go. So going, in the event that you put your trust in me and vote for me, it's one of the things that I'm going to take a look at and start slowing down the amount of money that we keep spending and not doing anything after the studies come in. Thank you.
The glide path money, which is exhausted now, has helped us not raise taxes over these last years. Next year is going to be extremely challenging because there will be no glide path money, there will be no rescue plan money. What are we going to do? Obviously, there are alternatives that we can look at. I'm always looking at grant funding. I really can't go into a whole lot of detail at this point in time, but if you will tune into the budget hearings or attend them this coming Tuesday and then again on the 20th when it's finalized, you can hear some more information. Thank you.
I would have to agree. I don't think it's an easy task in any way to budget anything. I mean, 5 kids and we're middle class working family, but it's the first thing we do is tighten the belt, and I think what Ken Dake said is pretty spot on, that there are a lot of things we spend money on as a city that maybe personally I wouldn't do as a just as a family. I wouldn't, when things get tough, you eliminate things, you trim the fat, you do what you have to do. And as we're looking, we're all sitting here facing recession. I don't think raising taxes is ever a good idea, but especially not now. And I think that grants is one thing we've tended to overlook, all the grant opportunities that are out there. And I've said this for our commission as well. Why are we not applying for more grants? Why are we not seeking more of these, these opportunities that are available to us? And so I would also have to agree, we should have been doing this a long time ago, but we really should be looking at the opportunities available to us through grants and other options. We have a very competent staff. I'm sure that there are things we can do, and they can help us, to get through that budget. Thanks.
I agree with Councilmember McCabe on this one. Definitely not a softball question, Jordan. Definitely a difficult one. But listen, I've been a proud member of this organization for the past 2 to 3 years. I've been honored to serve on its board of directors. I will always be fiscally responsible and prudent with your tax dollars. Inflation affects everybody, and that includes the city of Vero Beach. I was able to participate in the budget meetings a couple weeks ago, the last month. I went through it, and there's some areas that I do believe we can cut. With inflation, as I mentioned, it's going to affect everyone, but at the same time, you don't want to see your government not struggling when you're struggling. So I think it's very important, whoever gets elected on this next council, our economy has been on a roller coaster ride the past 2 years with COVID and with inflation at all-time high, and I don't believe the ride's over yet. So it's very important to elect officials who will practice fiscal responsibility and be prudent with your tax dollars.
So first and foremost, I'm opposed to tax increases, especially since the property values have gone up about 10% this year. That's more than the $500,000 of glide path money that's necessary to have a balanced budget. You have to live within your means. So if you can't live within your means in the situation, that's an issue. Then you've elected the wrong people to balance your budget. So I would say that you need to get the right people elected. The number one priority for the budget is our police department and the safety of our residents. Outside of that, the rest of it gets scrutinized. And so I would say that there is definitely opportunity for improvement, and any tax increase at this point in time during this particular inflation and post-pandemic situation is ill-timed, it's unfair, and completely unnecessary.
Hi, yeah, tough question. As a business owner, I have to deal with budgeting things all the time. You can only spend the money that you have, and you have to prioritize what the needs are and what you can spend it on. I agree that there are definitely ways that we could cut the budget, but I think that if I were elected, I would focus more on ways to generate more revenue that don't involve raising taxes, because I'm definitely against raising taxes. We've already started coming up with really innovative ideas, like Rob Bolton's plan to clean water coming out of the canal and then selling it to Johns Island. That will become a revenue source for the city. If we can expound on that and increase that, then we can create other revenue sources off of that revenue source. So I don't want to cut services ever. I know that cutting things is a way to balance the budget, but I think increasing revenue is a better way. When we have the Three Corners property situation, you know, we've all said we want that to be revenue neutral, but I feel like it's not out of the question for that to be revenue generating. It's a giant piece of property that's worth a lot, and I think that we would be remiss to develop that in a way that doesn't benefit the city financially. And thank you.
Thank you, Linda. Thank you all for your response on the first question. I apologize. It was a tough one. With as many candidates as we have, I didn't have a lot of time for fluff. And I did want to mention one thing. Taylor mentioned his service on our board, and I just want to remind everyone of our bylaws that the moment any of our board members do decide to run for office, they are no longer allowed to serve on our board. So Taylor did resign his position on our board the moment that he decided to run for election. So he was not involved in any of the discussions that our board had related to the questions that would be asked. The integrity of our forms is something I take very seriously, so I just wanted to make that statement in case anyone wasn't aware of our process. So for the next question, the order will be with Ken first, Honey, Brooke, and then Taylor down the line. I imagine you all can figure out the order from there. Recent efforts by the Vero Beach Preservation Alliance to put their referendum on the November ballot regarding the dry storage marina property and all city charter properties gained a great deal of attention from the community. In the recent special call meeting, City Council decided to submit the referendum to a judge to determine if the language is too unclear or ambiguous. Do you agree or disagree with the Council's recent decision, and why? Would you like to see our style of government take on more of a town hall approach, or do you think we're doing it the right way now with our current representative governance?
That was a mouthful for you. Good, actually good question, because this marina situation has been going on for a few years, and a group of people got together that weren't too happy with the expansion, and I've watched it play out for a number of months. It's been in the planning stages for quite a while, and I think sitting in on the meetings, the council members of the day, in the way they see it, is there was plenty of discussion about the expansion, and they said they had their meetings, and et cetera, et cetera. I stood up a few times and said, guys, we've had the virus, we've had problems out there. People are not watching the meetings, they're not aware. Yes, you had your public hearings, but the folks are coming in now addressing you all, saying, could you maybe listen to us a little bit and help us out a little bit? And what happened at the meetings, and I don't think it was any fault of the council, they were on a particular program. You know, in the way they see it, everything is good. And they forgot about the citizens that will be directly impacted. And lots of times when people came in, and again, I'm sitting there watching it, they were intimidated, they were interrupted. I've chaired things. I've been doing this a long time. Give people their time. If they want to jump up on the soapbox, get up on the soapbox and go for it. Give them their time. That's where I think the situations come in with the people have gotten irritated. One of the things I don't like to see in this community is this bickering back and forth. We're a small town here. We're all gonna see each other around. Thank you. Who's next?
Honey's next. And then on down the line.
Obviously, this is an issue before City Council. It's in the courts at this point in time. So I can't discuss going forward, but I can give you a little history here. There was a point in time where that marina was the crown jewel, literally. People would come down the intercoastal with their big boats for the winter. They always made a point of stopping here in Vero Beach because of our reputation. Well, over time and lack of funds allowed that marina to go into disrepair, literally disrepair. And so a master concept plan was put together on restoring that marina back. And what we did was we had a consultant, come up with plans on expanding the dry storage shed, large, medium, and small size, because what we have there at this point in time is not a safe structure. And so we reached a compromise to go with the medium size. Well, from that point on, the community became very concerned that this property isn't protected, and so they wanted to add it into the charter. And then they wanted to see that the charter was restricted in certain ways, the parties in the charter. And this got really, really confusing. We held a public forum, and at that public forum we heard a lot of comments about, just really about the confusion. And at that public forum, council decided we have to understand better, what's going on, and the decision was made, to go forward and ask a judge to make a ruling on it. It is on the ballot, so no one can remove it. Only a judge can make a decision whether that vote will be counted or not. It's unfortunate that this has come to this point, but that's where it is. Thank you.
I certainly hope we're not spending taxpayer money to fight with a group of well-intended individuals that I happen to know and have met with. The goal with the Vero Beach Preservation Alliance is simply to protect our public spaces and our parks. I encourage everyone here to reach out to them, ask them questions about the language or their intention behind the referendum. I think, as we all know, you're limited to 75 words. The details don't all fit. The details come after when it's put into the charter. At least that's the way that I understand it. And I think it's their responsibility to educate the public on what their intentions are. And I, like I said, I encourage all of you to reach out. I do think it is important to protect our public spaces and our parks. When we look at, we're coming off a pandemic again, and even the planner for DPZ, Andrea Stawani, said, hey, wait, never mind, let me replace this plan with more green space and open space. So I don't know that it's in the city's best interest to fight and argue with members of our community. As elected officials, it's sort of your responsibility. You're responsible for and responsive to the people that elect you. So I feel like that could have been handled a little bit better. They could have been given their time and attention that they deserved. And I hope that, again, moving forward, that everyone reach out to them and ask them personally about what their goal and their mission is. They're happy to explain it. Thanks. What's so funny? Oh. You guys are laughing at me, and I was out of here.
Well, first off, I think it's admirable that a citizen-led group achieved the required petitions to get this on the referendum in such short time. But however, I'm extremely confused and concerned with some of the language. I may reach out to them, Brooke, and follow up, and hopefully they can provide some clarification to it. It's almost like, for me, in my opinion, it's twofold. They want to put the city marina in the city charter. Okay, I get it. But then they want to set a expansion limitation to any structure within the city charter. And I mean, this would delay numerous projects and prolong any future development. You look at the projects right now that would impact the World War II Memorial on Veterans Island. They just completed the World War I Memorial. Now they're going and completing a World War II Memorial, but implementing or yes, implementing a stage into that design, which I think is a great idea. It can't be done. You would have to wait, go to referendum. The youth sailing, I'm very confused by that one because they're taking down the water tanks. So can they build within that footprint, or are they not able to build within that footprint? This is why we elect public officials, to make these decisions on our behalf, to represent us. If you look at the best way to understand this is if you look at the history. The city marina was privately owned, then it was purchased out of fear from the city by the neighborhood for major development to be in that area. Now the city has an obligation to provide a level of service. I don't think anybody in here can argue that that facility is out to date, and it's probably making the day-to-day operations challenging. I mean, needless to mention the liability that it could cause to boaters or to staff there. You know, I want this marina brought back to what it once was. You heard from Councilwoman Manous how it used to be a crown jewel. Sadly, I don't see that today, and I hope we can get there.
So kudos to the group for being passionate and able to activate. Good for them. But in my opinion, they did it in a kind of deceptive way. They had people signing a petition, and they signed for one thing, or they signed for another thing under the guise of saving manatees or helping the lagoon or doing all of that. And then they come to the special called meeting to get more information, and the Vero Beach Preservation Alliance sends a written letter to be read instead of showing up in person. And I find that a little cowardice. They were invited. It's in writing. And so the community wanted the marina to stay within the city. And so it is the job of the elected officials to make that happen. And so this plan does that. And they worked with this group to make the boat storage a little bit smaller, and thought that that was it, and we were going to move forward, and this is going to be great. And the new technology that's here today is going to actually help the lagoon regardless. So this, and then the wording of the referendum is very confusing, very ambiguous. It also includes two things, not just one thing, and that makes it an issue also to be on the referendum just for that. So I would say that I am 100% behind City Council for having this go to court so that it can be removed from the ballot.
As far as the referendum goes, well, let's start with the boat barn. Let's start with the boat barn, because that's how I believe all of this started for the Vero Beach Preservation Alliance. And I totally understand where they're coming from. This is their neighborhood. They wanted the boat barn to be smaller. I sat down with Cindy Lawson and did the math, and the difference between the medium-sized boat barn and a smaller boat barn in revenue to the marina is only $10,354 a year. So, and that's revenue to the marina. Revenue to the city is actually 6% of that. So, making the boat barn smaller would have not been that big of a deal. And the referendum just went too far. The referendum goes too far. If they had stopped with that, put the boat barn into the charter, protect the boat barn, then I could be 100% for it. But you cannot hamper the city's ability to do business. This referendum is so general, we would have to go to referendum to build a new pavilion in the dog park. What Taylor says is correct. It would just, the city could not do business. We could not function. We would just be, it can't happen. It can't happen. And for one thing, their referendum is completely at odds with the Three Corners referendum. They kind of contradict each other. So how could people read these things and even understand what the intention is of the referendums? They are too ambiguous, and I'm glad that the city went to court. I'm sad that they had to, that it had to come to that. But that referendum just cannot stand as it is.
Yeah, thank you. A comment was made a little bit ago about the amount that we're spending on attorney's fees and consultants and so forth, and I couldn't agree more. That is one of my frustrations on council, that I think we also have done a little bit too much in terms of getting consultants in, and I used to be one, so I know what the game plan is there. So it's kind of sad. And on the attorney's fees, I couldn't agree more. between the county and the city here and the City of Indian River Shores and all, we have collect the Attorneys Full Employment Act going on here. And I don't really support that. However, with regard to the very specific question and so forth, again, we have a private meeting, if you would, with our outside attorneys as well as our city attorney to discuss that whole issue. So to get any more specific on the marina issue, the only, I can't get into that. The only thing I will say is that I did meet with the advocates of the original plan, and which was just to resize the marina and not make it as big, and I'm empathetic to a lot of their issues, but beyond that, I better not go further or I'll be in trouble.
Okay, thank you very much. Honey, you'll be up first on this next question, followed by Brooke, Taylor, and so on down the line. The recently created stormwater utility is expected to result in a new collective fee of about $1 million a year paid for by all property owners in the city of Vero Beach. Historically, the cost for maintenance and improvements of our stormwater system have been paid through the general fund. Based on the budget discussions thus far, it doesn't appear that we will receive a corresponding decrease in the millage rate. If elected, would you be in favor of preserving or expanding the recently created stormwater utility, or would you be in favor of dismantling it and funding stormwater as we traditionally have in the past?
Thank you. This is really a very important question. We did form the stormwater utility. Fees that are collected there are specific for capital improvements. It'll be managed by staff. There's no extra expense there. And obviously this isn't anything I can really discuss because it's coming up under budget. But what I want to do is refer you to the Florida statute. It's section 403.0893. It probably escapes a lot of people's attentions because this stormwater utility is under the area called public health. As a city council, we are responsible for the health, safety, and welfare of our citizens. And there is a lot of information out there now, a lot of research about what's going on health-wise, health challenges with the condition of our lagoon and our oceans, and how this is infecting us. This Florida statute, it's under public health, that's the title. It's under environmental control. And it specifically talks about stormwater funding, dedicated funds for stormwater management, establishing, this all goes back to 1989. This has not been very well, well, let me put it this way. There are 180 separate stormwater utilities now in the state of Florida, more are underway. And what's really important is that the DEP has not been following their enforcement. And we recently sponsored a resolution requesting that the Florida Department of Environmental Protection increase its enforcement efforts for the water quality restoration for our Indian River Lagoon. I'm going to be giving a copy of this to Jordan so that it's available for you all.
Thank you, honey.
I think again, most of us up here are not really for raising taxes in any way. The health of the lagoon is obviously something that's on everybody's mind. When I was a kid, the water was blue. 30 years later, it's brown and gross. So this is a tough one, and I think a lot of maybe clarity needs to be given for sure, and I look forward to getting a copy of that. And I think obviously we would want to proceed very carefully with this. Not my area of expertise. I'm always okay to admit when I don't know something. But I do think that the health of the lagoon is really, really important, and we should look at other options as well. I mean, just our small community of here, what are we, 17,000 people? I don't think that just us 17,000 can clean up the Indian River Lagoon. I think it's going to take a lot of cooperation between other local communities, the state, the county, ourselves, and I do think it's really important, and I'd love a chance to look into that and help out.
I stood alongside Jordan at city council meetings opposing this new tax. I really feel bad for the businesses, the business owners like Linda, and the nonprofits who are going to be impacted by this the most. You know, I understand the residential property, $6 to $7 a month. I get it. But if you look at a company like Piper, who is the #1 or #2 largest paying taxpayer in the city of Vero Beach, and our #1 employer, they're going to be assessed $50,000 to $70,000. How is that okay? Let's go back, going back again. We're jumping back on the ride, the roller coaster, pandemic, inflation, all-time high. I just don't believe now is the right time to do this. I think instead of pushing the stormwater narrative, we should be focusing on the step system. Only 35% of residents are utilizing this service. I'm not sure why we're changing course when this is a proven strategy to clean up the Indian River Lagoon. The three biggest causes for its pollution are septic tanks leaking, #1, stormwater, and muck. Why not address the seagrass beds? Manatees are dying because of starvation, because there is no seagrass. As Brooke just mentioned, the lagoon isn't what it was 30 years ago. In order for seagrass to grow, it needs salt water. We should be looking at planting beds if we want to address the manatees. Why change course? Let's stick with the step system. I wouldn't be satisfied if I was on city council to move on until we were at a 50, 60, 70% of residents on that system.
So I was opposed to the stormwater utility tax. I spoke up about it at the city council meeting. There was actually a solution offered by using 100% ARC money and not doing a tax, but they did not vote to do that. And besides that, there isn't specificity in what this money is going to go towards. It's just sitting there as a tax on a shelf that can increase over time unless you manage that now. So we have met our stormwater mitigation credits until 2035. The JI Golf Project is a very creative solution of partnering with other communities in our community to make an example of how you do a project to help the lagoon and deal with stormwater without affecting the taxpayers and making them pay more in taxes. So there's that, and then the city funded a major stormwater project a couple years ago with the proceeds from the Dodgertown Golf Course property sale. And we also have extensive capital reserves set aside from the electric sale in the event that there is a stormwater worthy project that we can work on that is, has been done before, that we're not starting something new, it's been proven. Those kinds of things are things that we need to look at to help and set an example for our 6 miles of lagoon versus the 157 miles of lagoon. You can still make an impact in 6 miles and set the example and make relationships with other communities so that you can have creative projects that help the lagoon as a whole.
Cleaning up the lagoon is one of my largest priorities. However, the stormwater utility, the way it's set out, I don't feel like it has any focus yet. I mean, we've already paid a consultant, Kinley Horn, I believe it was $163,000 to do a study to tell us what to spend our money on to improve stormwater. And what Tracy said is true. We have money in the capital budget that if a good project comes up, we could absolutely fund it. I feel that the stormwater utility is punishing businesses without giving solutions. There's no remediation options. For example, the new storage unit building that's being built next to the police department, we're going to make them pave most of that. We're going to tell them to pave it because that's what we do. And then we're going to charge them more as a stormwater utility tax because we made them pave it. And then we're going to spend that money to fix the problems that we are currently creating. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. I think that maybe we should look into permeable pavers and different solutions for new construction and ways that we can remediate stormwater without this constant cycle of just polluting and then trying to fix it, then polluting and trying to fix it. Why don't we just try to fix it first? Yes, and I think that as far as septic tanks go, we need to make that a way larger priority. Taylor is right. It's not happening fast enough. We need to partner with the county, which is what I would try to do, to get grant money like Martin County did, like Brevard County did, and they're getting it all paid for. Why aren't we getting any grants? All right, so that's it, because my time is up. I don't want the yucky buzzer. Thank you.
I just want to say that absolutely one of my highest priorities on council has been and will be the lagoon. If you don't think there's a real problem, just take a walk out here around by the city marina and take a look at the water. Or go down to Taylor Creek and just see what's going on down there as well. So there's a lot of issues. I'm the first one to say that there's a lot of additional work that has to be done with the stormwater utility. But everybody here is talking about getting grants. We were not eligible to get any stormwater grants because we did not have a stormwater utility. We are now eligible to go out and get those grants, and I think we should aggressively do that and so forth. And again, on the lagoon, we just need to do everything, and I believe in a shotgun approach to that. I agree with Taylor, we need to do more to encourage people to go on the SEP system. There are two things on City Council's agenda on Tuesday that are two people are looking for loans from the city, essentially, or liens, to put in the SEP system, and they're doing that, and they will be paying for that over time through their taxes and so forth, and I think that's very laudable. One thing I just want to give a shout out also to, I'm very pleased that the county has on their ballot this year, same ballot we all get, a $50 million proposal to buy more land to mitigate and to keep it from being developed, and so it can be used for environmental mitigation programs, ultimately improving the lagoon, giving us the tools to improve the lagoon. So I'll be in favor of that one. So, but in terms of specifics, again, I have to punt.
Very good question. I don't think there's one person in this room that doesn't consider that lagoon out there very special. And one of the things I hear over and over again is stop polluting, stop doing things in your own yard. You heard about the septic tanks, I'm not going to go into that. Watching this play out for a couple of years, this was originally sold, this consulting firm, they were going to figure out what was wrong. And I'm sitting there thinking, well, you're going to do some water testing. What actually are you going to do? What are you going to treat? What type of infrastructure are you going to put in if you're going to collect money? The firm was hired strictly on how to charge us. Their next task was, by God, once you're taxed, or fee, whatever you want to call it, you're not getting out of it, period. You want to get out of it, spend about $10,000 to $15,000, depending on who you have to bring in. And that's all part of the paperwork. That's one of the things I don't like. The other thing I don't really care for, it now goes on your tax bill as a fee. You cannot get out of that. You all know how it works here. You're the Taxpayers Association. You don't pay your tax bill, they take your home. I don't appreciate that. If it was such a grandiose idea, put the thing on the ballot. Going forward, one of the things I brought up, is one of the things, there's many things I brought up, government buildings. No one was talking about that. They're going to get charged too. We pay for that. So the way this has been handled, I'm really not in favor of it. I think it can be done better, where we can have a designated fund for the grants. The money that has been spent on all the consultants, we're going to have that box of money and that dedicated fund to go after grants. And I'll leave you with this. One of the things one of our own department heads had told the council, or explained to the council rather, over half the projects you don't qualify for grants anyway.
Thank you, Ken.
I'm done. Thank you.
All right, appreciate it.
That's what happens when you sit in on the meetings.
Well, actually, this last wrapping up question, and it's really more of a chance that each of you will have. So you'll each have 3 minutes to discuss at length what you believe the most important issues are for the city of Vero Beach and why you are uniquely qualified to address them. This is your opportunity to bring up anything you're passionate about that I didn't specifically ask, and to simply put what can residents of Vero Beach expect from you if elected, and why are you the best person for the job? So please incorporate your closing statements into the response. This will be the last opportunity to address our members. And we'll start with Brooke, followed by Taylor, Tracy, Linda, Bob, Ken, and Honey.
Ken, pass her
This has been so fun. Thank you so much. So I, was asked to be here, was asked to do this. I'm obviously not as prepared as the other people here. I think you guys did a great job, and it sounds like we're all really on board, and we all really want the same thing for our community. One of the biggest issues I find is so much arguing and group fighting group, and it's just so disheartening. I really enjoy hearing from the community on our commission. It's the best part about that volunteer job. It takes time away from my kids and my husband, and I just enjoy doing it. I love it so much. I love to get feedback from people. I may come in with an idea about what I think something should be or how I think something should go, and after I get feedback from the community, I tend to change my mind. I mean, depending on where I started and where they ended it. So I feel like that's something that's really important. We're such a small town. We really need to be focusing more on supporting one another. We are neighbors. We do have to see each other around town. I'd like to see a little more positivity, a little more of an encouraging approach for our community to come to meetings and to speak to council about what it is that they have on their minds. I just feel, like I said before, the elected officials, your council members are there to serve you. They're responsible for and responsive to the public, and that is how that should be. Everything else, everyone else, thank you. Well said. Today was fun. Thank you.
Thank you, Brooke.
So I would like to make this one point in my closing remarks. All the issues we just discussed, they only reflect a small percentage of the job. My responsibility, if I'm elected to the Vero Beach City Council, is to be your solution to any problem. For example, making sure your neighborhood is well maintained, making sure our city roads are serviced, and ensuring city property is safe for all to enjoy. I'm going to be a citizen politician if I'm elected, providing my input that would represent the next generation that's going to inherit this paradise called Vero Beach. I learned so much from the last election when I ran in 2021. I'm a completely different person. I'm not quite yet at that, probably still a rookie or sophomore, but I am furthering my knowledge. That was very important to me. I remember doing the TC Palm interview, and Larry Reisman wrote that I was naive and need to learn more about local government. And I took that article and I pinned it to the wall, and I wrote under it, what can I do to not only prove him wrong, but those are very valid concerns. So I only missed, since the November 2nd election last year, 2 council meetings. One was in June because of our wedding. I couldn't miss that. She wouldn't allow me. And I believe another one was on a Friday, or it was the final day of budget meetings. So I can hit the ground running. It's very beneficial to be at those meetings, to be there in person. You go to the meeting, then you track it, then it's in the news. To be there in person was very beneficial. I was appointed to a city commission. I'm very thankful for Councilwoman Manous and Councilmember McCabe. I'm not sure if they were tired or annoyed by my persistence, but I finally got on there. And it's a historic preservation commission. They don't do a whole lot, but I went home, I have a binder, it's about this thick. It's the entire history of the city of Vero Beach. And what that was able to do for me is to have a greater appreciation and understanding of why we're so special here. And I'm also serving as the president to a political organization intended to educate young adults. Being the president of that association, I've been able to network and build incredible relationships with officials in the county, officials in Indian River Shores, in Brevard County, in Palm Beach. I wouldn't be running if I didn't have the confidence in myself to not only serve within this job, but to make a difference. My business card's on the table. If you have any more questions, I know there were only 3. Please give me a call. There's a QR code if you would like to learn more information about me or my website.
Thank you,
Go
Taylor.
ahead and scan that. Thank you.
I have to rudely cut you off. I hate to do it. Thank you.
So first of all, thank you everybody for taking time out of your day to be here. You guys are busy people, so that shows your passion for our community, and I appreciate that. Also, thank you to the Taxpayers Association for over many years holding these forums to vet local candidates. That's so important, and you guys do it better than anybody else, if I have to be honest. It really meant a great deal to me personally when I received the Fiscal Conservative of the Year award from taxpayers, along with Robbie Brackett, while I was serving on the hospital district. Every year I was on the hospital district, I came in with my own budget that was lower than any budget that was presented, and I gave solutions to how we can make this work. They did not accept that, but I came in prepared with a budget every year for every budget cycle, with a way to save taxes. Now, my top priority, 1, 2, and 3, is to complete the Three Corners project. And to do this, there are some really big steps. You have to convince the voters to participate in voting for the referendum. You need to elect capable city council members that are going to follow through with what the residents of this community want. You need to find development partners who have an economically feasible business plan that's not going to cost our taxpayers. You need to negotiate some long-term leases in a way that benefits the city and is advantageous to our citizens. You also need to learn on how to use a new ongoing revenue stream if we're able to move forward having a revenue stream for Three Corners. So some of my positions, just so we're all on the same pages, I am opposed to raising taxes. That should always be a last resort. And in this particular economy, I think it is ill-advised to raise taxes. I was opposed to the stormwater utility tax, and I was vocal about that. And if I get on city council, I want to try and find a solution to get rid of that. I am in favor of updating the marina, and I was vocal at the special called meeting. I think that the referendum being on the ballot is also ill-advised and ill-timed, and I am 100% behind the city council for taking that to court to make it void in the November election. We need in our marina a new dry storage facility that's high quality, top-notch, environmentally friendly, and fits today's boats, and is safe for our community and those that are visiting our community. And I think that all of those things together make me a good candidate for city council, and I'm hoping that you'll vote for me, and I'm looking forward to serving our community.
Be right back, Mr. Arnott.
Thank you, Tracy.
As a business owner who owns Kilted Mermaid, which is kind of the neutral zone, I talk to everyone. I talk to young people, I talk to older people, different revenue streams, different parts of the city, and believe it or not, there are things that everyone absolutely has in common. Everyone wants a cool place to go. People want a cool place to go with their kids, families. Young people want a cool place to hang out. Retired people want a cool place to hang out. The Three Corners is very passionate to me. I was on the steering committee. This is why I finally decided to run, because I just cannot stand the thought of that property just sitting there with a fence around it, and we pay $40,000 a year to cut the grass. I just can't have it. We have to proceed with the Three Corners. The plan that we did was amazing and had the most public input of any plan ever. So it is very important to me, and I will fight for the Three Corners to be a place that we can all enjoy, environmentally friendly as well. The way the plan is written, it's 70% green space. And I would like it to remain such. And I don't think that it has to be just revenue neutral. I feel very strongly that that piece of property would be revenue generating, and it's very important that it is, because we have stuff we need to spend money on in the city. And we have to clean up that lagoon. And I think that those two things could work hand in hand. I will fight for the lagoon. I will fight for smart projects that help the lagoon. And, you know, maybe a little bit less consultants and thinking outside of the box. I want to think about solutions. And I know math. I'm a business owner, I know math. Math is very important. You spend money that you have. If you have desires, you have to make more money to spend money on those things. And I am a fiscal conservative. I have no intention of raising taxes. I'm not excited about this stormwater utility that is really punishing to businesses. But I think that we need to come up with creative ways to solve stormwater problems nonetheless. And I will be tireless and I will be tenacious. And I am like a dog with a bone sometimes. I'm pretty sure that Matt Mitz, our public works guy, is really sick of hearing me say the words solar streetlights. But you know, stuff like that is I'm definitely an idea person, and I care about the future of this town. My son just got married, and he will be raising his future family here. So the future generations are very important to me. So I hope you will support me in November.
Thank you, Linda.
Again, let me just say thank you to Jordan and the Taxpayers Association for holding events like this, and specifically for this one. And thank you all for coming and sticking around, actually. This is my first elected position since high school. I am not a politician. I don't wish to be a politician, really. I just felt very strongly about some of the issues that were facing Vero Beach as I came here and got involved in the Chamber of Commerce and the Sunshine Rotary Club and so forth. Being on city council for the last couple of years, I've learned a great deal about the city and how it operates, as well as the relationships that we have with the county and the surrounding municipalities. I would have to say, and I said this to Jordan Brown the other day, that the 95% of all of the activities that we do here in the area with the county and the other municipalities are very, very coordinated and well done. It's very sad that only about the 5% or so of the areas where it doesn't work out too well are what gets publicized, but it does sell newspapers, I guess. The other thing I wanted to say is that I've been able to use my extensive business background and experience during our deliberations on city council. And sort of related to this, I want to say that one of the reasons that I'm so passionate about cleaning up the lagoon is at General Motors I got very involved in several EPA Superfund sites, from Messina, New York, down on up on the St. Lawrence Seaway to the Hudson River, the North Terrytown plant, the plants that I was responsible for in Mexico. We used to take water out of the river down there in Mexico and use it in the plant and return it to the river cleaner than we took it out. Those are very important issues. I dealt with the EPA counterpart up in Canada, the Ministry of the Environment, and cleaning up a 50-acre site, taking 220,000 metric tons of impacted soil. So it can be done. You can clean this up. I used to live by the Charles River in Cambridge. We used to joke you could walk on it in the summertime. And now it's quite clear, and the skulls and the shells that go up and down there, it is a proof that it can be done. The other thing I just wanted to say is that I would hope that I get your help and support in the election. I'd like to continue to use my expertise and, more importantly, my independence in the service of our city and the citizens of the area. Again, apologizing for Florida's sunshine laws, but I think they are very important, and I do support them, and we have to be very careful there. But it does impede some of the sharing of ideas and so forth that we have here. And I did talk to the city attorney this morning, and he assured me that I could say some things here like, I have a website. I can put almost everything that I want on the website.
Thank you, Bob.
Sorry.
Thank you for coming, all of you, and thank you for hanging out and listening to all of us. Being in the military, especially part of the 82nd Airborne and being part of the chaplains program there, you want to protect things, and the things are people, and you want to take care of them. I've been doing that most of my life, caring for others, almost a lifetime of service. You know, I don't want to go into that. My bio is pretty long on how I've been serving not only this community, but other communities. What's very important to me, if I become your next council member and you put your trust in me, is your safety and your general welfare, that you're protected, that you're taken care of. And every dollar that comes into City Hall is wisely spent. I already went into how we hire so many consultants. No one wants their taxes raised. I understand that. We don't mind paying for the services. I spoke a little while ago about the balanced budget. Yes, it comes in balanced. There's a lot of things not being done. Example, I think most of you in here are familiar with Pocahontas Park area. We have problems there, ladies and gentlemen. We have a severe homeless problem there. You have children that play in that park. It's dark at night. We have meetings there. It's unfortunate. These homeless folks have problems. They've been yelling at people. Just a few days ago, where they meet at the fountain there, someone pulled out a machete and started really just carrying on. That stuff needs to be taken care of. Those are the hard things that you don't hear about, that you don't see. And as a council member, even before, I'm this type of person. I almost go continuously, long days. And we have department heads, we have a manager. They are on a salary, set salary. If Ken's up at 12 and there's something wrong out there, I'm on the phone to the manager. How are we going to fix this? There's a lot of things that go on in this community at nighttime that are not too pleasant. We have some neighborhood issues that have not been addressed. I tried to get a little piece of land mowed over by the Edgewood Arts Village, little tiny spot. It was like, oh my God, we can't do that. We don't have the money. Well, you're spending the monies elsewhere. I don't have time to go into that. You can't even bring a mower over and mow. We finally got it done. Just mow it, okay? That's all we were asking about. Those are some of the things when you do boots on the ground, you go out and you actually talk to the folks out there. I visited with the downtown business owners, island-side business owners. Say, what are you guys doing over there? You're not helping us. You say all these nice things at the council meetings, a lot of things not being addressed. So as your next, you put your trust in me, as your next council member, some of these issues need to be taken care of, and I will address them. And I will watch your pocketbook very carefully. Being a business owner, I am extremely tight. I want to know where every penny's going. Thank you.
Thank you, Ken.
Thank you very much for this forum, and I'd like to just take a little shout out to Mark Moocher. Mark has been my appointee on the Utilities Committee, and I appreciate, Mark being on the Board of Directors. He brings a very interesting perspective, to all the discussions on utilities. He's always seeking the truth, and he brings that forward, and I truly appreciate that. Thank you, Mark. My decision to seek re-election was not so much a decision to seek a second term, but an affirmation of my commitment to serve Vero Beach and the people that are here. My work for Vero is ongoing. I'm the voting delegate to the Florida League of Cities. I serve on their Land Use and Economic Development Committee. We set policy for the legislative session. And this is really very important because year after year, we're seeing it more frequently. They're preempting home rule. Home rule, all of our cities in Florida, 411, are established by charter. This charter gives us home rule. It's recognized in the Florida Constitution. However, year after year, these home rule abilities are preempted. 2 years ago, a year ago, not this last session, but the one before, they passed legislation that says any business that currently operates in the city can now operate next door to you in a single-family private residential neighborhood. We're shocked, totally shocked. Well, I'm working with the League of Cities to see how we can get this amended so it's not as intrusive on our ability to enjoy the quietness of our homes. The second thing is I also serve on the Treasure Coast Regional Planning Council. We've been working very hard to work for safety factors with Brightline coming through. We've been successful to the point now where the Federal Railroad Administration says we can do some funding. It will go to FDOT, and hopefully we're going to see it here. We're looking at preemptive control, quad gates, on and on, fencing for neighborhoods, safety factors. This is a very, very big deal for us. I've also been able to get some very qualified people in our city to serve on some of their economic committees, and this has been very, very satisfactory. We have a representative right now from our airport serving on that committee, and this is not with any affront to our Chamber of Commerce. This is just an additional person serving from the perspective of an employee at the airport. And Vero Beach was just named the #1 regional airport in the state of Florida. Ta-da! And also, I'm vice chair of the Metropolitan Planning Organization, and this allowed me to work very closely with them and our Main Street Vero Beach to develop a historic walking path that will eventually go up to the complex that's being planned across from the high school.
Thank you very much, honey.
Okay, I really appreciate the service to the city, and that's what I'm all about. Thank you.
Well, I want to thank you all, candidates. I know it takes a lot of time, energy, and effort to run for public office. It is important, and I appreciate you all doing it. One thing I also want to be very clear about, at the Taxpayers Association, we do not excommunicate anyone. We're actually looking for more members, so if you know a friend or loved one, you've sat through this meeting, drag them to the next one, make them do it too. We hope that it makes you better informed citizens, help you vote for the candidates that are in line with your thoughts and wishes and desires for our community. For the future, I will say that on October 7th, Paul, you heard it here first, we're going to be hosting a candidate forum for the Indian River County Hospital District. I still need to email all those candidates, notify them of that, but that's our plan for October. And in November, we will be coordinating with Sebastian Daly and hosting our Sebastian City Council forum at Captain Hiram. So buckle up for that one. It's always exciting. That'll be on November 4th. That's all I have for today. And then, of course, in December, we'll have our annual holiday and awards luncheon. So we've got the whole year planned out. Thank you all for coming. Meeting is adjourned. Okay. Yeah.